You know, one thing our Jewish and our Christian origins teach us is that one creator formed all things. So even though there is huge amounts of diversity in the world among people in the universe, this teaches us that there is a radical unity within the diversity. And when we see that way, which is really seeing with sacred eyes, with holy eyes, it tears down any conflict between differences because we share a divine DNA. It's like when we see that way, we see the hidden wholeness in each one of us that connects us. It's what the Franciscan priest Richard Rohr refers to when he says everything belongs. Everything is connected. So there's no difference between the sacred and the secular. There's no difference between the natural and the supernatural, and on and on. Everything shares a radical unity. Everything is connected. And when we have sacred eyes, we see that, and we see the world and people that way. So this is what we're going to talk about this morning, seeing with sacred eyes. And I'm so glad you're joining us.
Good morning, friends. I'm Peyton.
And I'm Josue, and we'd like to welcome you to SPERO DEI online this morning.
We are newlyweds here at SPERO DEI, and we are so excited to welcome you to our church home.
We both grew up in church, but often felt that our questions, fears, and values were never welcome, and at times it made us feel a bit outcasted.
At SPERO DEI, we feel safe asking questions, sharing our stories, and continuing to grow as our true selves. Even during this tough year, SPERO DEI has stayed consistent and continues to lead with love and empathy. It's right where we want to be.
SPERO DEI is a place we've always longed for, but never knew we needed. We're so grateful for the community, new friends, and mentors we have found.
Our story has truly found a home here, and we hope that as you watch this morning, you find peace and feel safe in this space where all stories are welcome.
Father, great and holy, fearing not we come to thee, fearing not. perfectly. Our hearts are made for love. How perfectly our hearts are made for love. Oh, you are love and love alone. 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 You
Well, welcome, SPERO DEI, and wherever you are watching, whether you're watching in Nashville, whether you're watching in some other state or, gosh, some other country, I just want to welcome you to this unique church here in Nashville. And it's unique because of how we are rethinking and reimagining, even reforming Christianity, and a Christianity that's very meaningful to us, but a Christianity that needs to evolve and change. So if somehow you are part of us or you have found us, I just want to welcome you. And my name is David Perez, and I'm the lead minister here, and really I am glad. And to our Nashville folks, I just really, really miss you. I miss being with you, and I've been sharing that with you these last couple weeks, that the longer and the further we're apart, I just can't wait till we're all together. I know this is the safest thing. This is the most responsible thing to continue to stay online. But I just want you to know I think of you, and I say prayers for you, and hopefully all of us can be together soon. Well, a couple weeks ago, I began a series of messages that kind of introduced the new year, and it was right around the insurrection on our Capitol happened, and then the week fallout there. And I gave two messages about finding hope again, and then I gave a message last week about the King holiday. And as this past week, we just kind of had a transition in the United States from one exiting president to a new one. I sort of want to finish this up with a trilogy, kind of a third installment. And I want to talk about what it means to see with sacred eyes. All of us are viewing the world. All of us have a point of view of what is going on. There's all kinds of things and noise around us, encouraging us to think a certain way, believe a certain way, see things a certain way. And I know there's all kinds of voices in that. So I guess as a minister, what I want to talk about as I kind of give a button on the end of this, as a new president begins, what it means to see with sacred eyes. Have you ever noticed that in Jesus's ministry, his ministry is so much about healing. It's so much about healing people. Yes, it's about teaching people and connecting with people, of course. But Jesus spends a huge amount of his ministry healing people. And he specifically heals a lot of people with blindness who can't see for some reason. Sometimes they can't see because they were born that way. Sometimes they can't see and we don't know why they can't see. Or could they see part of their life and then lost their sight? Some of the stories we don't know. And then there are some stories where people can see, but they can't see. They have sight, but they actually can't see life in deep ways, in meaningful ways. They can't see spiritually. They can't see with sacred eyes. So there is this one story in John chapter 9 where Jesus heals this blind guy. In fact, his disciples say, is he blind because he sinned, because he did something wrong, or his family did something wrong? And Jesus is like, no, this guy isn't being punished in some way. It has nothing to do with it. And that's sometimes what people thought. That's still what some people think, that if some misfortune happens to them, it must be God's punishing them. Some people even think that about the pandemic. Some ministers actually teach that about the pandemic, that the reason the pandemic exists is because America did some wicked, awful thing. That's just not my view, and if I could be so forward, that's ridiculous. That is not the heart of a loving God. So the disciples are wondering, is it because of some bad thing? And Jesus is like, no. So Jesus connects with the guy and connects with him relationally and through love, and ends up healing the man of his blindness. When the man is blind, others take him to the religious leaders who just throw a fit. One, they throw a fit is because when they hear Jesus did this on a Sunday, they go, Jesus broke all kinds of religious rules. You can't do such a thing. It's against the scriptures. And so that sort of thing even still goes on today. A person is shown some sort of love, shown some sort of grace and mercy. They're shown some sort of inclusion, and very rigid religious people go, you can't show that kind of love. It's against the scriptures. So it happened then, it still happens today. So they are all twisted about this because the man is healed and it was done by Jesus. They even bring the man's parents in. And then the man just goes, they keep asking him, who did this? Who did this? And he goes, I don't know who did it, and I don't know where this guy's from, but he has to be a man of God, because only God could do this, could heal my sight. And they get all mad at him again, and they go, quit trying to teach us, and they throw the blind guy out of there. Well, Jesus follows up and finds this guy, and I want to read this to you from John chapter 9. When Jesus heard what had happened, he found the blind man and asked, do you believe in the Son of Man? The man answered, who is he, sir? I want to trust in him. You have seen him, Jesus said, and he is speaking to you. Yes, Lord, I trust, the man said, and he worshiped Jesus. Then Jesus told him, I entered this world to give sight to the blind and to show those who think they can see that they are blind. Some of the Pharisees who were standing nearby heard him and asked, are you saying we're blind? If you were blind, you wouldn't be guilty, Jesus replied. But you remain guilty because you claim you can see. And so here Jesus is dealing with people who actually have sight, but can't really see in a sacred way. And here is a man who was actually blind. He doesn't have sight, yet he can see in a sacred way by reaching out for God. Now, I think we live in a time, and especially as we turn the page here in America on a whole new administration, with all the uncertainty of the pandemic, with some of you happy the way the election went, others of you might not be so happy with how the election went. I think we need to be able to see in a sacred way more than ever. Now, Richard Rohr, the Franciscan priest, he tells a story of three men who go down to the ocean, and they all are looking at this beautiful, amazing sunset as it as the sun falls into the ocean with just these beautiful colors on the horizon. So the first man can see it with his first eye, and what that means is this man can see the beautiful sunset, and he can see its full glory, its full beauty, but that's it. The way this man sees the world and sees sunsets, that if he can see it, touch it, feel it, fix it, move it, then that's his reality. Now, what does he see? Does he see a beautiful sunset? Of course, he still sees it. But he doesn't see really beyond what is there. The second guy looks at the sunset and he sees it all the ways the guy with the first eye sees it. But not only does he see the beautiful sunset and the beautiful colors, he looks up and he sees the stars starting to form. He sees the sun starting to set. He sees the moon starting to come up. And he starts to think beyond just what he can see. He wants to understand how it all works, how the gravitational pull works on the tides, how the planets revolve around the earth, how the sun rises and sets. He wants to see and he wants to understand. So does he see the beauty of the sunset as is? Yes. But he takes more of its beauty in because he sees beyond just what he can see to a place with wisdom and understanding. Now there is a third guy who looks at the sunset. He sees all the amazing colors that the first guy sees. He takes in and is quite interested in how the whole thing works behind the scenes. He appreciates all of that. But when he looks at the sunset, he looks beyond the first eye and the second eye, and with his third eye, he can place himself within the sunset. It's not just like he sees it, he can sort of taste it. And he sees how he is connected to it, and he sees how it is connected to him, and he sees how he is connected to it, and how he is connected to others, and how everything is connected, and how everything belongs. He's just within the sunset. He sees with a sacred eye. He sees with a holy eye. Now, the first eye, seeing the sunset as is how most of us see. It's how the religious leaders in Jesus' story sees. It's how a lot of the world sees. And this is just a very sensate. Again, if you can see it and touch it, feel it, hear it, fix it, move it, that's the reality. And this is how much of Christianity gets taught and explained. This is how much of social media works, seeing through the first eye. This is how a lot of politics and politicians explain the world and issues through the first eye. And when you see the first eye with the first eye, you you only see separateness. The first man saw the beauty, sure, but he didn't see himself part of it. It was separate from him. And so when we look at people, when we look at others with our first eye, we just see them as us and them. We recognize our differences. Perhaps in our fears, we pull back. We make judgments. We don't see our connection. This is very much the eye of rationale. Everything has to have a reason. Everything has to have sort of an explanation. This is how much of Christianity is talked about today. You know, what's interesting is when the Enlightenment happened, the big part of the Enlightenment in the 16th and 17th and even into the 18th century was reason, was rationale. So obviously religion mystical religion had captivated the heart and mind of humanity. But as we understood more and more about the sciences, as all the ologies were coming online, we started to gain more reason. It's not angels moving suns, it's gravity and things like this. So reason became the hallmark and rationale became the hallmark of the Enlightenment. As less and less people started to look towards religion and look towards science and reason, one of the responses that religion offered was now scriptural and Christian rationale. We will now open up the Bible and we will fight reason now with reason. And so many of us were taught a Christianity that had an answer and a reason for everything. Apologetics, systematic theology, doctrine, everything is explained. And Christianity got explained with a first eye. But then there's the second eye, which is the eye of wisdom. Some of you started to live a certain way, and the certain first eye view of faith, the first eye view of life and worldview, your first eye view of marriage, of relationships, of life, politics, of sexuality, all of this, it all couldn't fit in a box anymore. And you started to live and you gained wisdom and experience. And so this is better than the first eye. You start to live a little and you start to gain some wisdom and experience, and you start to shift a bit because you've learned more. And so now when you see God and see faith and see the world and see differences, you don't just see it with the first eye. You start to see it with a deeper experiential understanding. And it can start to build a compassion and a calm and a peace, a greater understanding, which is a wonderful thing. It's sort of like the man who was healed. He is starting to see the world with a second eye, and the religious leaders are belting him with questions with a first eye view. But then there is the third eye. There is the sacred eye. So when you see with a sacred eye, you see with your first eye. You certainly have grown a bit and see with your second eye experience and wisdom. But it's when you start to place yourself into everything. It's when you start to experience the radical unity that you belong to others, others belong to you, you belong to God, God belongs in you, and that we're all connected. And when you start to see others and people and the differences and the diversity in this world, more and more walls come down. The fog starts to be waved from your eyes, and you start to see your connection to others. You don't see your separateness. You appreciate the diversity and differences, but the diversity draws you to the unity. And I think many religious leaders explain Christian faith with the first eye, maybe the second, of course. Many politicians explain issues and explain political ideologies much with a first eye. Here are the differences. Here's what they are. Here's what we are. And when we look at life and world and issues with only our first and maybe our second eye, it keeps us separated. But when we gain a sacred eye, which is we see the togetherness, we see that unity comes from our diversity, that we are all connected. Love raises, compassion raises, inclusion raises. So how do you develop this third eye? How do you develop it? Well, one, you have to long for it. You have to desire it. Remember the guy with the first sight? He looked at the sunset and just kind of goes, it's beautiful. I'm good. I like what I see. I like how everything is, and I'm good. But that's not the third way of seeing. And so I have found in my own life how the third eye is growing. And I'm not there yet. I'm still on my journey. There are still places where I can feel insecure and protective. I do love what Amanda Gorman said in her poem at the inauguration, that there is light everywhere, but will we be brave enough to see it, and will we be brave enough to be it? So it takes courage, it takes bravery to want to see with the sacred eye. And I have found that it has come to my life through a more contemplative, self-reflective, self-aware life. It's just living presently. It's becoming aware of my thoughts and feelings and bringing attunement to God and to myself in those. And it's through a quieter, contemplative stilling of my life that my third eye just begins to widen. And so it's amazing with faith that someone could pray all of their life. Somebody could even read and study the scriptures all of their life and still just see with the first eye. So this is just something I just wanted you to consider, and I'll share this with you as I close. I think the world needs now more than ever, it needs people who will see each other and see the world with sacred eyes. We need religious leaders with sacred eyes. We need political leaders with sacred eyes. And I find I am drawn to someone who's not talking about issues or convictions or beliefs as much as I am drawn to someone that when they see in a sacred way that is connecting us all together, including us all together, and laying love in and through the whole thing. That's more important to me than where one falls on issues. So many times those are issues of the first eye. But when I hear people talk and leaders talk with eyes that see in a holy, loving, inclusive, compassionate way, that draws me in the sense that that's where God is. That is how Jesus saw with sacred eyes. Well, let me pray. God, help us to be still. Continue to quiet our mind. Allow us to be fully present in our body and in our surrounding. And God, we want to tune into you. We want to attune to your love, to your grace, to your compassion. We want to attune to ourselves where areas of our life where we still hide, where we still hold back, where we still shudder in fear of difference. Help us to awaken and to open up. Help us to notice those feelings and without judgment acknowledge them. But help us to move towards action of love and compassion. God, may we see the beauty of the first eye. May we gain more understanding of the second eye, yes. But may we all ultimately see with the third eye, the sacred eye, the holy eye, which is how you see, to include, to offer mercy and grace, to bring peace and calm and nonviolence, to not describe our life in issues and always belief and convictions, but to have our life centered in stillness and love and grace and peace. And I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Lay down your guard, lay down your burden. Everyone's welcome, this home's made for you. Clothed in familiar decorations, there's room at the table, a place just for you. What's mine is yours, is enough for everyone. You will not be turned away. Look around, let the light wash over you. There's room at the table, a place just for you. So come as you are, wounded and broken. Come with your worry, oh come take a breath. You're not alone, you've not been forgotten. Just come all you weary and you will find rest. What's mine is yours, is enough for everyone. You will not be turned away. Look around, let the light wash over you. There's room at the table, a place just for you. Through all the struggle, through all your striving, the door's always open to come back again. Here you can find peace like a river, and it will surpass all that you understand. Oh, it will surpass all that you understand.
Mr. President, Dr. Biden, Madam Vice President, Mr. Emhoff, Americans, and the world. When day comes, we ask ourselves, where can we find light in this never-ending shade? The loss we carry, a sea we must wade. We've braved the belly of the beast. We've learned that quiet isn't always peace, and the norms and notions of what just isn't always just is. And yet the dawn is ours before we knew it. Somehow we do it. Somehow we've weathered and witnessed a nation that isn't broken, but simply unfinished. We, the successors of a country and a time where a skinny black girl descended from slaves and raised by a single mother can dream of becoming president, only to find herself reciting for one. And yes, we are far from polished, far from pristine, but that doesn't mean we are striving to form a union that is perfect. We are striving to forge our union with purpose, to compose a country committed to all cultures, colors, characters, and conditions of man. And so we lift our gazes not to what stands between us, but what stands before us. We close the divide because we know to put our future first, we must first put our differences aside. We lay down our arms so we can reach out our arms to one another. We seek harm to none and harmony for all. Let the globe, if nothing else, say this is true. That even as we grieved, we grew. That even as we hurt, we hoped. That even as we tired, we tried. That we'll forever be tied together, victorious. Not because we will never again know defeat, but because we will never again sow division. Scripture tells us to envision that everyone shall sit under their own vine and fig tree, and no one shall make them afraid. If we're to live up to our own time, then victory won't lie in the blade, but in all the bridges we've made. That is the promised glade, the hill we climb, if only we dare it. Because being American is more than a pride we inherit. It's the past we step into and how we repair it. We've seen a force that would shatter our nation rather than share it, would destroy our country if it meant delaying democracy. And this effort very nearly succeeded. But while democracy can be periodically delayed, it can never be permanently defeated. In this truth, in this faith we trust, for while we have our eyes on the future, history has its eyes on us. This is the era of just redemption. We feared it at its inception. We did not feel prepared to be the heirs of such a terrifying hour, but within it we found the power to author a new chapter, to offer hope and laughter to ourselves. So, while once we asked, how could we possibly prevail over catastrophe? Now we assert, how could catastrophe possibly prevail over us? We will not march back to what was, but move to what shall be, a country that is bruised but whole, benevolent but bold, fierce and free. We will not be turned around or interrupted by intimidation, because we know our inaction and inertia will be the inheritance of the next generation. Our blunders become their burdens, but one thing is certain. If we merge mercy with might and might with right, then love becomes our legacy and change our children's birthright. So let us leave behind a country better than the one we were left. With every breath from my bronze-pounded chest, we will raise this wounded world into a wondrous one. We will rise from the gold-limbed hills of the west. We will rise from the windswept northeast, where our forefathers first realized revolution. We will rise from the lake-rimmed cities of the Midwestern states. We will rise from the sun-baked south. We will rebuild, reconcile, and recover in every known nook of our nation, in every corner called our country. Our people, diverse and beautiful, will emerge battered and beautiful. When day comes, we step out of the shade of flame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it. For there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it.
Well, good morning. My name is Travis Spall, and I'm the Director of Operations here at SPERO DEI. And I hope this morning's message was meaningful to you. I hope you were able to connect with it in some way, especially those who are finding us just for the first time. Well, we have some very exciting things going on here at SPERO DEI, even in the midst of a pandemic. We have groups and classes that have started and will continue to start throughout the semester. My Pints and Podcast group started this week and went great. So you haven't missed out, though. We still have groups that are coming up. We still have classes that are coming up. So we invite you to hopefully find one on our website that you can be a part of. And let's face it, Zoom groups, we're probably all over them a little bit. But it has been a great way to just continue to connect with people here at our church, continue to check in with people, and be together even in a pandemic. So we hope you'll be able to find a group that speaks to you. And you can find all of our groups on our brand new website. You go to SPERODEI.com. We've completely revamped our site. It's much easier to sign up for events and also just find resources. So we invite you to find that, as well as our new app. It's called Church Center. You can go add SPERO DEI there. You can sign up for classes and groups there as well. And you can also give there. It makes the giving process much easier. And for all of those who've given throughout 2020 and continue to give through 2021, I just want to take a second to say thank you. It's so meaningful to us that you're a part of this church financially. It helps us really be a voice for this city, for this community, and all the things that we stand for in our values, just to be able to share those with us, those around us. So thank you for being a part of that. And if you've not yet given and you would like to, it's easy to sign up. You can go to SPERODEI.com and click Give Here, or you can also go to the new app and give. You can give one time, or we also ask you to consider becoming a recurring giver in 2021. But again, thank you so much for being a part of that. Well, as I mentioned, as our group started, we had one group in particular that had a very great start. We have a new group for gay men that covers the book called Velvet Rage that a facilitator named Matt Moran started this week. And man, I'm just so proud to be a part of a church that has a group for gay men and for all of our LGBTQ friends, that they can be a part of groups and share their story in a safe place. So I want to let Matt Moran tell you more about that group.
Hey guys, my name is Matt Moran, and this past week I had the opportunity to lead a gay men's book club on Zoom. It was the first of 5 sessions. We'll be meeting for the next 4 weeks, and it was really an opportunity for us as gay men to dive into Alan Downs' groundbreaking book, The Velvet Rage, which explores some of the experiences that gay men go through from adolescence all the way into adulthood. And I'll be honest with you, it's just difficult a lot of times for gay men to find places to authentically connect with other guys in order to share our stories and feel less alone in our journeys. This first meeting was an opportunity to do exactly that, and I'm pretty sure everybody was really, really blown away by the experience they had in doing it. So if you happen to be a gay person, a gay man, and if you happen to know somebody who is and you think they might be into something like this, please feel free to head over to SPERODEI.com and check it out.